इंद्रियाणि परायामो
इंद्रियेभ्यः परं मनः
इंद्रियेभ्यः परं मनः
मनस्तु परा बुद्धिः
मनस्तु परा बुद्धिः
यो बुद्धिः परतस्तु सः
यो बुद्धिः परतस्तु सः.
The working senses are superior to dull mind. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. The senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions as described here ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. Since the mind is always active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses. The mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will be engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartate. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution to the whole problem. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by the use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness, by complete surrender unto the personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger, and even though the senses are very strong like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of the intelligence and the mind and senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. Yesterday we started the point that what we need in our life is rectifying algorithms. So if we are very close to these rectifying avenues, which means the matching with the Shastras, the matching with the Krishna Katha and the matching with the devotees. If these three matching factors are there and rectifying sources are there, then we can reformat our intelligence time and again. And this check and balance is the prime duty of a sadhaka, to keep himself in a healthy state. So here the Lord is explaining the hierarchical potency from which stratum the whole entanglement of the living entity was. So, Prabhupada explains that the senses are outlets of lust, and the lust is reserved in the body. Lust is reserved in the body, and it is went out through the senses. Therefore, in that way, the senses are higher than the body. That means, so what it means is that the senses have the potency to regulate all the bodily functions. So if the senses are controlled, all the bodily functions get controlled. That's what it means. Like say for example gross lust. One of powerful ways of avoiding say gross lust, so one becomes lusty seeing a woman, or what is supposed to be done. So one of the potent ways of saving oneself from this kind of predicament is not to look at women. Not to look at women, gaze at their form, drink their form, things like that. But when there is a gaze for a long time, and in that way one is taking in as input the form of the woman, or we were making the point, drinking the form of the woman that way, then what happens? All the bodily functions get triggered in an agitated sense. Because the sensual input is taken in a strong fashion, actually. So therefore, if the sensual input is not taken, the situation is much better. Because senses are greater than the bodily functions. So all the bodily functions will be in place. Because the senses are in place. Like that. So that is why senses need solid engagements. And if senses are not supplied solid engagements, then senses will take their tuned inputs. And when they take tuned inputs, the whole bodily functions becomes agitated. And when those inputs reach the mind, that agitation is perpetuated. You know? And if those inputs reach the intelligence, so going to the level of mind is like going from first gear, second gear to third gear. It becomes more intense. Now one will progress faster. The first gear, how much speed you can go. So the senses input is like first gear. Then when the mind gets involved, it is a third gear actually. One is going at good speed and like that. And intelligence gets involved, it's a fifth gear actually. One is out of control. So now one is walking, not one is traversing the pathway of sense gratification and therefore traversing the pathway of sin and entanglement with a very high speed. Because intelligence has got important. So this is the so the senses need strong engagements actually. Therefore, it is a healthy practice to keep the senses in a busy state of engagement, so much so that they are in a sort of tired state. They are in a sort of tired state. So that much service engagement needs to come. And actually senses are in a sort of busy and tired state. So there is no inclination much to take any inputs. There is no inclination much to bother about anything else which is happening around. And that is a safe state actually. Because once the inputs are taken, senses are higher than the body. And then we will see these inputs are, so if sensual inputs are proper, we will see the it sets a purifying pattern. It sets an elevating pattern. Next, Prabhupada says the mind is greater than the senses. So that is very true. In between, Prabhupada makes the point that sense objects are higher than the senses. So given the situation that the sense objects are present, senses cannot hold themselves. So we have to make plans to hold the senses. So now the point is, what is this planning? So this planning is making roadways by intelligence. It is as gross as matter in that sense, that we have put the senses on track by our plans. That this is how I will be engaged. Say for example, there is congregation yatra, there are Prabhujis, there are Matajis. So I may get troubled and hooked somewhere else or focused somewhere else. So if there is Sankirtan, I will be right in front with the Sankirtan Mandali. But if I am at the back, then I will have to hear Kirtan and Mataji's Kirtan, is it not? Or I may have to practice with Matajis. So this is a plan now, is it not? Because one is at the back, then after Prabhujis or Matajis, then when one has to participate in Kirtan and Matajis, then hear all Matajis singing, and walking beside and things like that. So whenever Sankirtan takes place in congregation yatras. So now, so this is one's protective algorithm, so that one can focus on holy name and not focus on some other things, like that. So this is a plan. Now this plan is executed from the platform of intelligence. And therefore this is like a roadway which is given to senses. And therefore if one follows that, one will be happily protected. One will be happily protected. Is it not? So that means that awareness that this is a risky situation, there is a possibility of getting diverted there. And therefore, what planning or what roadways I should make to protect myself. If this is done, then we are able to safeguard ourselves. Like for example, we go to Mayapur temple. We know there are Prabhuji's place, Mataji's place and all that. Albert Road, not many visitors come, so it's still okay sometimes. This is Mayapur is a little different. So one has to understand that okay, probably this is the door I will go, straight I will go to Prabhuji's. I will stand on this end of the, not in the middle partition, like that. Stand on this end, is it not? So this is called as planning. And if this kind of planning is there, then in that case, the sense object, hooking will not happen. So through intelligence one can make roadways. Otherwise sense objects hook will happen. We cannot protect it. Similarly, we understand that we are going to a marketplace, many people keep roaming around and keep doing various things like that. So then we understand, okay, the plan is what, how to save the sense and the sense objects from getting in contact with each other. We need a plan. So we beforehand plan out, okay, I will take one devotee, But just taking one devotee is not enough, because both may be, absorbed in ecstatic symptoms, isn't that? So okay, I'll take a devotee, and maybe we will discuss this particular lecture, or we will read this particular book, or we will recite some slokas. So there is a plan, and if that plan is proper, then there is no problem. Then in that sense, one can separate the sense and sense objects. So now, mind has the power over sense objects. That's what Prabhupada explains next. So what it means is that, we have seen, like say somebody is disturbed, then even though sense objects are present, it doesn't appeal. Because mind is taking it off. That's why we understand mind is powerful, like that. Therefore, it is better to be disturbed with anxieties for service to Krishna, always. So how much seva we should take? How much responsibilities we should take? That much which keeps us always disturbed, So woman comes, said, time nahi, sargarama rakha hai, This is not, This is not like that, Somebody says there is feast, somebody says there is this, is that sahi hona chahiye pehle, hai ki nahi, This is that, So that is the point actually, because mind has that power. So therefore, the mind can be, propelled towards solid engagement or solid hooking in terms of mission and responsibilities. And that anxiety is a very fortunate position actually. Sometimes we come in anxiety, want to give up that seva. But if you give up that seva, there is a protection system now, because the mind is hooked in anxiety, the mind is not allowing the sense objects to show their power, And therefore the senses, even though they may be, the senses are present, sense objects are present, but the mind is taking the whole thing off, Because the mind is in anxiety. Now if you say, okay, difficult seva, tough seva, a lot of anxiety, a lot of headache, let me give it up. If you give up, sense objects, direct connection, hook. That's how it happens, And mind is also active. That's very dangerous actually. Because see, sense objects, direct hook, and mind is also free. So mind takes that input, and mind starts processing it. And if mind starts processing it, the mind will perpetuate it, is it not? And the mind will invite intelligence also. Come, there is a feast. The Mahaprasad feast now, is it not? And if the intelligence is also not, there is no reading, hearing, there is no sadhana, like that, no inputs from any devotee, weeks and weeks have passed, like that. Then intelligence is also free, Intelligence has nothing to process, nothing to mancha. The intelligence is ऐसी भूखा हो ना, चलो. किधर बुला रहे हैं आप? Sense objects, ठीक है, feast. And then the intelligence also comes and sits, like that. And all of them are eating, mind is eating, intelligence is eating. And then intelligence is eating, intelligence is अच्छा है, इसको और होना चाहिए, इसको ऐसे बनाएंगे, ऐसे लेके आएंगे, storage भी होना चाहिए, Is it not? Once and for all we'll take input, we'll store it, in cold storage, Let us buy cold storage, let us buy this, let us buy that, So intelligence makes a lifelong plan, And then one is wanting it, then one is, making algorithms to, get it. Like that. And then it becomes very difficult to control. So that means more powerful the factor, if it is kept empty, more damage it creates.
How impersonate they and back-end zero everything.
They are artificially trying to resist, but they are not able to resist. That is the point, they fall down. Even if they go to Brahmajyoti, from there also they fall down, because there is no hook. The mind and senses are not given up. Even in Brahmajyoti, mind and senses are there in the living entity. The mind and intelligence. And because mind and intelligence have no positive hooks, they glide down. So that is the point. They glide down. Because even though one is in Brahmajyoti, one is hanging up, but with cameras he is watching. All the sense gratification happening in the 14th planetary systems. So slowly he glides down. Even at that stage. Therefore we need positive hooks. Like that. So therefore, it is very important for the devotee to keep his mind in an anxiety state for the mission of the Lord. Very healthy position actually. When the heat of service is there, very healthy position, we are protected. Sometimes devotees misunderstand and they feel, let me be peaceful. That peaceful state is a poisonous state actually. What peaceful? Peacefully attached to sense gratification. What is that peaceful? That peaceful is a very dangerous state actually. So best is to be loaded actually with services, with responsibilities, with anxieties. We are protected. And then now intelligence is higher than the mind, Prabhupada explains. So what it means, just like say suppose say a professor in the college, he's chastising, and he's acting in a khadus way. So one may feel like giving a tight slap on the face of this fellow, what he thinks of himself, or the same kind of feelings one may have towards his boss in the company, If he was another company or if I change my company, that day I will just beat him up, So that kind of thought process which comes, is it not? So now, but one controls. Like खाने के लाले पड़ देंगे, चुप रहो थोड़ा अभी ना, पहले company change करते हैं. So therefore sometimes some people make algorithms. The day I pass out and I get my degree, फिर दिखाऊंगा इसको, इसको किसी ना किसी दिन दिखाना है. It's like that, So what has happened is that with intelligence one is controlling himself. That's the whole point. So intelligence is higher than the mind. Therefore, intelligence has to be kept in a purified state by constant churning or hearing of the Shastras, the Acharyas, the holy name, Krishna. Intelligence has to get continuous inputs so that it remains on a positive spiritual track. Otherwise it may get deviated and diverted. So Prabhupada explains, so therefore what is the mechanism of saving ourselves? So the first point is regulation. The sense gratification, regulated. See, this kind of regulation also comes from the platform of intelligence, because we are telling, no, I need to cut it down. So that comes from intelligence. So this regulation is good actually, because it gives confidence to one that yes, it's possible to come out of it, like that. So regulation is the first step. The next step is upward connection, because regulation cannot be perpetual. So the mind and senses need to be hooked very strongly. You see what Srila Prabhupada is saying, such a powerful statement. And Prabhupada is saying that even though the soul is the master of intelligence and the mind and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitated mind. Therefore, always as a devotee, we should be hankering for opportunities to hear about Krishna. We should be hankering for opportunities to speak about Krishna. And if we have planned organized gatherings, it is very nice because it is riveted, is it not? So somebody takes up 7 preaching programs, 7 days, 7 mornings he speaks to 7 places, 7 evenings he speaks to 7 places. If he doesn't go, people call, hey, kidhar ho tum, like, यहाँ से आ रहा हूँ थोड़ा सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन में अटकने वाला था, वो चलिए आता ठीक है. So one is riveted. Speaking Krishna का था, one is absorbed. Whether people hear or not, it doesn't matter. Similarly, hearing Krishna, that should also be planned and organized, you know. Hearing Krishna. So in this way, one's intelligence and upward connectivity is emphasized. And this emphasis of upward connectivity is what Krishna is offering as the solution to control lust. Evam buddhe param buddha
Evam buddhe param buddha
samsthavyatmanam atmana
samsthavyatmanam
jahi shatrum mahabaho
Jayashvatrum mahabaho
kamarupam durasadam.
Kamarupam durasadam.
Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, that is Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. The third chapter of Bhagavad Gita is conclusively directive to Krishna consciousness by knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without considering impersonal voidness the ultimate end. In the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by the propensities of lust and the desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overlording and for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind and the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations, artificial attempts to control the senses by the so-called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by our higher intelligence. So what is required is to practice thinking of Krishna. So with intelligence one has to understand that yes, I am a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And unless, as Prabhupada explains in the last purport, one is strengthened by sufficient association of Krishna. You know? So if strength is not coming, we need intake. It's as simple as that. If strength is not coming, we need intake. If strength is not coming, we need intake. The formula is quite clear. It's intake versus strength. So if we are seeing that yes, I am not getting strength, intake, and more intake. That is what is required actually. So intake from the Shastras, intake from devotees, and we take in, we will see strength comes, you know, like that. We see the strength come, the strength to hold, the strength to channelize, you know, like that. And that is what the Lord is telling. With intelligence, so with that strength, you know, so intelligence is a push giver, you know. You will see intelligence is a push giver, you know, like that. And so mind and senses, they are put on a track, slowly they have the tendency to deviate. Slowly they have a tendency to deviate actually. So as soon as one sees that deviation is happening, if one is observant, with intelligence one can give a push and put it back on track. So intelligence is a push giver actually. So therefore intelligence has to be continuously fed, so that the intelligence is always active on this dimension of observance. And with that push actually, the mind has to be kept on the track of always thinking about Krishna. You see, thinking, feeling and willing are in one track. Whatever you think more, you will feel for it. And if you feel for it, you will will for it. You know, like that. That way, willfully, one entangles himself. So, feeling and willing is not at all important. Feelings and willings are bogus things actually, you know. Like one says, I am not feeling for bhakti. Feeling and willing are bogus things. If you think about Krishna, you will feel for it. You know? Feeling and willing are not independent vectors in that sense. You know, if you think more about something, you will develop feelings for it. You know, like that. And that's what happens. One, dhyayato vishyan pumsan is the same principle. What is dhyayato? What is dhyayato? One is practicing, thinking. So that means one is taking inputs to giving inputs to the mind, and giving inputs to the mind, like that. And yesterday we were talking about that one is thinking too much, like that. Then one can be lusty seeing a man, One can be lusty seeing a small child, his own child, or that way, is it not? So, too much one thinks on a certain area, one is bound to develop feelings and feelings. So thinking has to be on Krishna, like that. Therefore, time and again, we should keep meditating. We should keep ourselves absorbed. We should have targets. To observe ourselves thinking about Krishna. Go to various devotees. Okay, today I will just try to, today I will try to simulate, or today I will try to envision, and enter into the mood of Bali Maharaj, Or today I will enter into the mood of Kulashekar Maharaj, So that way one needs to have a plan and target, like that. And one is absorbed in that day. Today is Kulashekar Maharaj day. This week only Kulashekar Maharaj. And one is absorbed in that way. Chintayami harini vasantatam mandaha samuditanam buchi nandagopatanayam paraspanam narada vimani vindavandita chintayami harini vasantatam. It's a very beautiful prayer of Kulashekar Maharaj. And just meditating on the past time, we get triggered, is it not? You see, you just visualize Kulashekar Maharaj is hearing about Mother Sita being abducted, and here is Kulashekar Maharaj and he is getting agitated. Ravana! And he's telling armies, immediate launch, and everybody is, just meditate on the past time, and Kulashekar Maharaj is charging. He's charging towards, now from Srirangam, he's charging towards Rameshwaram, You see the point, Hundreds of kilometers, isn't it? 6-8 hours journey actually it is, And there's all the armies, Kulashekar Maharaj is charging, and then there's the ocean, and Kulashekar Maharaj is charging and telling armies, and armies are telling, Sorry sir. Itna hi surrender hai. No more surrender. And Kulashekar Maharaj, he's saying, okay, nobody following, no problem, I'll myself dash in, and he jumps into the ocean. Can you imagine? So immediately, the past time, immediately the remembrance, how much it triggers us, how much it, kicks us, is it not? Oh, what is this absorption? And Kulashekar Maharaj is dashing inside the ocean and remembering Lord Ramachandra in anger towards Ravana. And he is dashing and not understanding anything. Is it not? Like that. You see the absorption. And then Kulashekar Maharaj is dashing in that way, and he sees the Pushpa Kumar is coming. And Lord Ramachandra, Lakshmanji, Mother Sita, Hanumanji, all of them are coming. And Lord Ramachandra comes and embraces Kulashekar Maharaj, And he says, don't worry, my dear devotee, the war is over, I did that seva now. So you be pacified, And Kulashekar Maharaj is, in ecstasy, like that. And that's why he gets pacified and he decides to go back out of the ocean. So this is the kind of, so we see that, okay, just by thinking we get triggered, is it not? I also want to read Bhagavatam in that way. I also want to remember Krishna in that way, is it not? And that Kulashekar Maharaj. So each and every, and Kulashekar Maharaj is chastising the mind in one of his prayers. And he's telling, oh nonsense mind, Mahavir Manda Mano Vichintaya Baudaya Mistiram Yakana. Says, na eva ami prabhavanti paparipavah swami nanu shridharaha. It's a very beautiful actually. And he's telling, oh nonsense mind, stop fretting about. Stop fretting about, being fearful of sinful reactions, Stop fretting about Yamadanda. Understand, that your Swami is Lord Sridhara, like that. And whom Lord Sridhara cannot save, like that. In another verse, Kulishekar Maharaj says that I have become completely exhausted with this material world. So today, I am going to rejoice. Today, I am diving into the chilled, cold water, in the chilled, cold, crystal clear waters of the lake of the lotus feet of Lord Hari, And I am diving into that lake and never to come out, In one of his prayers, Kulishekar Maharaj is challenging. And Kulishekar Maharaj is saying, oh Cupid, behave yourself. Oh Cupid, you better behave yourself. Because, he said, what do you think? You think you are too powerful? You have tried to show your powers and you have cut a sorry face many times in the history. So you tried to show your caliber and you cut a sorry face. When you tried to entice Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is called as Hara. And he said, you tried to show off your powers in front of Lord Hara and your body was burnt. What do you think? In my mind, Lord Hari is situated. In my heart, who is situated is Lord Hari. And Lord Hari is more powerful than Hara. And Hara burnt your body. So now if you are throwing your pushpaban in my heart, you understand my heart is not empty. My heart is not empty graveyard of carcasses. My heart, Lord Hari is situated. And if you throw your pushpaban in my heart, just understand what Lord Hari will do to you. Therefore, behave yourself. Behave yourself. So we see this way, just by thinking, just by keeping one's mind on positive thinking, so much we get energized. So much we get killed. Yes. Krishna's presence is there. And in this way, one is able to, take that vow, Aham tarishyami durantaparam. That okay, I am the most fallen. But still, I will be able to cross this material existence. Marching in a royal style. Why? Because I am holding on to the lotus feet, Mukundam Shake. So this way one has to keep his mind always hooked. We happen to be in material world. So therefore we happen to do some material things. That's not required for life actually. What is required for life is this absorption. And because there is material needs and because the preaching mission also requires some material things, so we may happen to do material activities seemingly. But the heart and the mind should always be hooked towards thinking of Krishna actually. So we should plan and target. Always. Like that. Therefore it is very powerful actually to always keep taking in the Shastras, like that. Rather than drinking the form of woman, let us drink, the prayers of Kulishekar Maharaj, let us eat the prayers of Vitrasur Maharaj, in that way let us drink the mood, let us simulate the mood rather than simulating, how to win the favors, how to show off ourselves, how to get money, how to be very famous, how to be very money, what do you call it as money, how to get a lot of money and this and that, instead of that, you should understand, how to, get the mood of, these great acharyas, like that, is it? What is that mood in which Kulashekar Maharaj is making this kind of challenging statement, What a royal style, what a heroism, is it not? Like that. We are not heroes, we are zeros, but we have this great heroes who can't do this, so it's like that, So that way. So in this way, if mind is, so we have to make targets, We cannot keep ourselves empty, Time and again we should check, abhi mere dimag mein kya chal raha hai, And if no verse is coming out, no prayer is coming out, no thought for the mission is coming out, no desire, no remembrance of Acharya is coming out, मतलब 2 घंटा बैठ के input चाहिए, spiritual input चाहिए, solid hearing, reading, like that. So that is the point actually. That is the point. So that is the only way how we can deal with matter, how we can overcome lust. Otherwise matter catches us. Matter catches us, always catches us, always catches us. Material desires always catches us. So why not make a solid plan to think about Krishna, to think about the acharyas, to pray, And that way keep taking solid input, and that is life actually. And there is nothing else which is meaningful in life, than to take in and to share. And in that way, fluff. The sweetness of the rasa of Krishna. Just like people enter the water, then they fluff water on each other, In that way one fluffs, the sweetness of the rasa of Krishna. So in that sense, the intelligence and the mind should be very strongly fed and should be very strongly, projected towards thinking of Krishna, towards thinking of acharyas, like that. Without being bothered about, what situation, fallen situation, this, that, forget it, dive into the chilled, cold water lakes of the lotus feet of Lord Hari, never to come out. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. So this completes the 3rd chapter and the 1st unit. So I request devotees to submit 1st unit assignments. Very soon we will be having shloka test. We will be sending you the list of shlokas which you have to remember, and we will take online telephonic tests. You will be given a date range and spontaneous, like that. Or in December meeting, physically we will take. And as soon as devotees come for the December gathering, the first thing will be the closed book test of the 1st unit. There are 30, 35, 40 questions of 1st unit in the worksheet, the student handbook which is handed over to all of you. So please go through that, solve it. That will trigger you to read the purports as well, and be prepared. There will be a closed book exam December 25th or 6th. When it starts? 26th. December 26th morning. After the morning program, the first thing we will do is test, and then after that for the classes. So, Mayapur, 26 to 29 in Mayapur. So the first Bhakti Shastri camp, in which we will do marathon on NOI. So unit 1 is over. Probably during December we will complete chapter 4, and then we will take a turn to NOI. And 2 more weeks after the camp, probably NOI will finish. Then we will continue chapter 5 and 6. So that way we are progressing. So we will start the yoga ladder from